So, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump, one of the most stupidest cocksuckers in the history of modern civilization, is still going on and 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 on about taking over Canada, making us the 51st state. Now, he was put in these plays, not only him, but Marco Rubio. Both of them were basically called crazy and idiotic today by two different people. The new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, and our Foreign Affairs Minister, Melanie Joly. So a little bit of background. Marco Rubio is Secretary of State. He's been pressed by the media at the G7 conference in Canada. Do you agree with Trump's position? He's basically does not want to state publicly he respects Canada's sovereignty. We've been around longer than their country has. Rubio is basically keeping to the bullshit comment from his president. Now, we all know that when Trump won it for the first time, Rubio was anti-Trump. Now, Rubio is a sellout. But Mark Carney basically called the idea point final crazy. So basically saying Trump and Rubio are crazy. So we're going to read a little bit about from the CBC article and talk about Mark Carney's speech, which was probably one of the best speeches in Canadian history. Now, Melanie Joly tells Marco Rubio Canada's sovereignty is not up to debate, period. So Rubio says Trump's 51st state comments reflect a disagreement between the president's position and Canada's. Okay? You're a fucking coward. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly wrapped up the G7 meeting in La Malbaie, Quebec on Friday with a stern message for U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, hands off our country. What I said to the Secretary is Canada's sovereignty is not for debate, period, she said at the closing news conference of the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting. There's no argument, there's no conversation about it, there's no need to talk about it, she said. You're here, you respect us, you respect our sovereignty, you're in our country, you respect our people, period. After the summit, the coward told reporters that U.S. President Donald Trump's position is Canada would be better off joining the States for economic purposes. Now, hitting us with all these tariffs is not going to break apart Canada. We survived Reagan and Mulroney years. This is what Rubio said, and talking out of both sides of his mouth. There's a disagreement between the president's position and the position of the Canadian government. He didn't say Canada, he said Canada, the Canadian government. I don't think that's a mystery coming in, and it wasn't a topic of conversation because that's not what the summit was about. Well, yes, it was, because you're bullshitting at home, and Trump has said he wants Canada nearly 2,000 times on the record since November. It's like this, ladies and gentlemen. You as a total stranger to me, you don't come into my house and take over my house and eat from our fridge and sleep from my wife. You're going to get fucking killed. If the States thinks that Canada's going to roll over, it's an awful fucking surprise. Now, Pierre Poilievre, who basically a lot of people in Canada call him PP or the baby Trump, is up in arms. The Conservative Party was ahead by 35 points in the polls. He thought that Justin Trudeau was going to lead the Liberals in the next election, but who shows up? The golden boy, Mark Carney, the former governor of the Bank of Canada, the former governor of the Bank of England, a very smart dude, probably one of the smartest economic prime ministers we've ever had. Now, the press conference announcing his new cabinet was quite interesting because some right-wing media for Canada was there, and he asked the straight question, what do you think about Trump and everybody else thinking Canada be the 51st state? And like any good Canadian, he said, it's crazy. That's it. It's crazy. So he basically said Trump was insane, Rubio was insane. Everybody that thinks in the States that Canada should roll over and take it up the ass for probably the worst country in the history of the world is wrong. Now there's a video transcript out there, and it's one of the best 39-second clips in Canadian history. In one of his first answers as Prime Minister, Mark Carney called continued comments about Canada being a 51st state crazy. And again, it comes after U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio made remarks about Trump's position at the G7 meeting in Charlevoix. And the reason why the comment was only 39 seconds, you had to say it in French and English. Point final. When you say that in French, point final, that means basically you're nuts times two. Now, when questioned he was going to meet with Trump, he said, "Well, I'm not planning anything, but he wants to meet." Now, ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder to the Americans who are listening to the podcast channel, how it works, Canada, with a legislative democracy, the party that's in charge have to have cabinet members that are members of parliament. In the States, it's not the same. Your cabinet members are elected. These are elected members of parliament, duly elected in the democratic elections. The prime minister or the main minister, who is almost like a foreign minister as well, he does many duties. He chooses his best cabinet. Now, he's got some really good people in the cabinet. Christy Phelan, Jolie, Dominic LeBlanc, an old pal of mine. His father, Romeo LeBlanc, and I go way back, former Governor General of Canada. Dominic is sort of like a number two, kind of a deputy prime minister of Canada. But the idea about people in the States that believe you're better than us, you're not better than us, you're a disgrace. Now, give an example. I never did something like this. Pat McAfee calling us a horrible country at Elimination Chamber WWE because we booed the anthem. Right-wing or conservative commentators, they're in sports, they're in news, whatever. You know fuck all about us. You don't even know how we behave. Did you know there was 13 provinces and 3 territories in Canada? Probably you didn't. Maybe on Temple Diddler's podcast. What do each provinces do? Are they all the same party? Are they all Democratic Republican? No, some are NDP, some are Liberal, some are Conservative or Progressive Conservative, it's a different version of Conservative. So 4 different parties, 3 federal, 4 provincial, are premiers across Canada. Each one has their own goals. Each one they have to fight what they want. Doug Ford is a right-wing premier of Ontario, the closest thing Canada has to Donald Trump, and he told Donald Trump we're not for sale. He tried to put a 25% levy on power coming from Ontario sold to the States. Susan Holt, the Liberal premier of New Brunswick, doesn't want to cut off power to half of northern Maine because they feel that the Americans are not to blame for the way Donald Trump is going on. So it's up to the media in the States, it's up to media here to say 3 things. And I'll say it to Donald Trump. By the way, Donald, if any representatives listen to this, I'll interview and it'll be a 4-second interview. How long you been a fucking idiot and how long you're going to keep it up? Because you're not only a joke, you are a passive-aggressive fascist leader. You're like Adolf Hitler, but you're passive-aggressive. And you're not that smart. If you were smart, thinking that Wayne Gretzky, your good friend, a traitor to Canada, could be made Prime Minister of Canada. He couldn't get a vote for dog catcher, especially in Calgary or any part of Canada. Bobby Orr, another traitor. Phil Esposito. Okay? Mark Carney is your worst nightmare. The provincial premiers are your worst nightmare. 40-some million people are your worst nightmare. You try to invade us, we got nuclear weapons, we'll fuck you up. Okay? If you cause any problem with us, the only reason I think you will never invade, by the way, can do reactors. We develop short-range nuclear weapons. If you push us, things will happen. Okay? That goes for every American. If you think you're going to roll over, fuck you. So Mark Carney's basically said, in polite terms, it's crazy. He basically gave a finger to Trump and Rubio. And I'll say the same to Mark and Rubio. You're a fucking sellout. And by the way, it wouldn't be for Quebecers keeping Florida afloat. By the way, you're not going to see any Quebecers but down in Florida on vacation. Your country will be bankrupt before ours. And you're saying you're going to destroy our auto industry? Well, go ahead. You're going to destroy yourself. You know? You want to pay $75,000 for a Toyota Camry? Go ahead. We're not going to buy. We'll buy from France, and we'll buy from Japan, we'll buy from Korea, and we'll buy from Taiwan, and we'll buy from the EU. And we're going to join the European Union. You're going to be left behind. So Donald Trump is not only one of the worst human beings of all time, he's probably the worst modern Western leader since Margaret Thatcher. Not saying a lot. So Mark Carney, good. Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, crazy. So ladies and gentlemen, if you like to follow my insane take on Donald Cuntard Trump, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And but you can't comment, so if you comment on it on another one of my podcasts, you will be banned and reported. Like I said, don't fucking mess with us. You'll be sorry. Have a good one. Bye.